Hello and welcome to my Abby Place. Today we're going to talk about incorporating some free motion with our clamshells. So as you can see, I've got a lot of different designs here, which I would not put this many designs on one quilt. As a matter of fact, I don't think I would even embellish every single clamshell if I were doing a background fill with this. I think it might be just a little busy. The reason that I did this the way that I did it is just basically it's an example. It's a practice piece. And that's what makes these fun is we can practice, we can come up with different ideas and then find our favorite. So what we're going to start with on this particular one, and it's going to look like this, is we are going to start with our simple circles. Okay, so what I've got here with my simple circles is I have several different sizes. I've got the 2-inch simple circle, which comes with our starter set. I've got a 3-inch simple circle and a 4-inch simple circle. What's important to note on all of these templates is that you have a vertical crosshair and a horizontal crosshair, and they all have that on there. Why that's important is because to make a true clamshell, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the crosshair, we're going to stitch around, and we're going to finish at the crosshair. So for example, when we do a 2-inch simple circle, we're going to start here, we're going to come around, and we're going to end here. What that is going to give us is a 2-inch width and a 1-inch height. A true clamshell is always going to be twice the width to the height. So for example, this 4-inch will be 4 inches wide and 2 inches tall. The 3-inch will be 3 inches wide and it will be 1.5 inches tall. So just a little thing to kind of remember if we're doing true clamshells, that's the way we want to do it. I think today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by using the 2-inch. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. And again, we want to experiment. This is our practice time, and we're going to come up with our own designs. We're going to come up and we're going to do designs maybe we've seen online or someplace else. So let's go ahead and get marked. I'm going to show you how I marked my fabric. And what I have here is 12 inches. And I did go ahead and make just a dashed line at the 6-inch point. And the reason that I chose 12 inches is because I'm going to be using a 2-inch for the inside clamshells that we're going to make. And then, and this will be later on, for the second half, I'm going to use the 3-inch. And 12 is divisible by both 2 and 3 equally. So I wanted to make sure that I had a number that was divisible by the templates that I'm using. So I just go ahead, I made the 12-inch, I made 2 sides, and I made the 6-inch dashed line just as a point of reference. So I will go ahead and get you guys moved over. We'll get to the machine and we'll get started on this. Okay, we're back. So I've got myself set up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop my needle right in this corner. And I'm going to pull my bobbin thread up, and this is something that I like to do as a matter of habit, I guess, or just because it's good. It really is just a good habit to get into. So I am going to do that, but I just looked at my thread and I'm just about out. So I'm going to put you on hold again. I apologize for that until I get some new thread in, and that'll just take a minute. Okay, we're back. What I like to do is I like to take and use bobbins that are left over from projects that I'm done with. I'm complete. So I have really no use for that bobbin thread color any longer. So I just like to do that. And sometimes I don't remember to check it. You'll see my foot is very loose. And I've got it that way so that I can be sure that I'm setting it to the right height. Remember to do this with all of your quilt sandwiches. The reason being is they can vary just a little bit, and you definitely want that foot height to be correct. If it's too high, you're going to skip stitches. If it's too low, you're going to have a lot of difficulty moving around the templates, and we don't want you to experience either of those frustrations. So I'm going to pull my bobbin thread up, and then I am going to put my needle back down, and again, that's right on the corner. Now I am going to take and put my 2-inch simple circle on. Remember I said there's horizontal and vertical crosshairs here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my horizontal crosshair right here on my pretend stitch line, okay? If this were a real quilt, that would likely be a seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one stitch in place to try and help avoid those toe catchers, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch until I hit the vertical line or the crest of the clamshell. Okay, so this is the reason that I use the inside clamshell or the inside simple circle for this, is because now I want my embellishment to come down into my clamshell. So I want it to come from here to here. If I had an outside clamshell, I would have to take my template completely off, put the design in, and then realign it. By doing it in this manner, you don't have to move anything, and that's awesome. It's going to work beautifully. I'm just going to go ahead and make a swirl here, and then I'm going to come back and make a sail. And I'm going to come back around, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to meet where I first started my design, and now I'm going to finish my clam. Something to remember when we're making circles with our templates or free motion, what we have to remember is that our stitches are straight. They're always straight, no matter what. So what I like to do when I'm working with a circular design is I like to make my stitches just a little bit shorter, and it helps the illusion of the circle better. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another design. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple leaves in here. So again, I'm just going to come up to the top. And remember, we're 12 inches wide, so we're going to get 6 clamshells because we're using our 2-inch. And I'm going to just make a leaf shape here. And I'm going to just put a little bit. There we go. And now I'm going to come this way, and I'm going to do another one. And we're going to have this one actually come behind the first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet up here. And now we're going to close that clamshell and finish it off. Now these are just ideas. I know that you probably have many more, and I hope that you use your imagination. Now what I'm going to do is I'm looking at this, and I don't think that this is going to be 1/4 of an inch. And it's not. It's definitely outside of that. I guess I'm not going to worry too much about that, seeing as this is my first row. If I didn't measure exactly perfect on both ends, that can happen. And this is just a practice piece. If it were a real quilt, I think I'd probably be a little more cautious. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down straight, and I'm going to make a little tiny circle there. And now I'm going to come back, travel up, and I'm going to come out at an angle, and I'm going to make this one just a little shorter, and again another little tiny circle there. Come back up, and one more time. And remember, those little tiny circles are going to be a lot more circular if you use a smaller stitch length. And come right back up here, and I'm now going to finish my clamshell. And this will show me how far off I am. Actually, I'm not that far off, so I'm doing okay. So now I'm just going to slide my template over, and I think this one we're going to do, let's do a lightning bolt. I think that's kind of a fun one to do. The lightning bolts I'm not going to have come right out of the top. I'm going to have it come sideways. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight line, come over, and another straight line. Okay, so you can see it's just straight lines. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off rather small, and then I'm going to echo. And I'm going to just get a little larger when I get to the end. And there we go. Now we can go ahead and finish that. That's my little lightning bolt. Okay, again, we're just going to slide that template over. And this time I think I'm going to do a little bit of a flower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, and I'm going to make a little curl, and then I'm going to make some petals. And another row of petals. So just be a little bit bigger. There we go. Now I'm going to come back to the stem, and I think I'll just make a little flower bud here. And we'll go back in. There we go. Back up to the top. And I'm going to finish off. There we go. So now I'm going to come over again, and like I said, I am off here, and I can come in and change that. That's not a big deal. This is a practice piece. So we're going to come up, and this time I'm just going to make a simple S curve. Just like that. Okay, so now to make this look like a ribbon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out, and then I'm going to come in, following the shape, and come back right here. And it just looks like a little ribbon flowing in the wind. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and stop because now I am at the end of my row. So I'm going to turn this around at this point to make it a little easier for you to see what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is I am going to line up my vertical lines. So I want here, I'm going to do it on this one, it'll be easier for you to see. So I have my vertical line back here lined up with my needle, And I have my vertical line here lined up with my needle as well. And I am going to make a straight line. Okay, so now I'm going to have a half of a clamshell here. So what I can do is I can come in and just do a half of a design. So there I did a half a heart. And now I'm going to come over and I will be lined up at the center of the last clamshell. I'm going to have my horizontal lines just skimming the top of the previous row. I want my vertical line to come right through this center point here. And it looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to come up. This time I'm just going to do something very simple. Just a little paisley. Now you could come around and do another one. And it's going to be, now it's a very stylized heart. I'm coming down in the center of the previous row. I'm going to move my template over. And what I've noticed now is I have to do a little adjustment, because what's happening is this line here is not just in the center here. So that's no problem. What we're going to do is we're going to come up to the top and we are going to adjust that template so that we're right in the center. Make sure that our horizontal lines, are skimming the previous row. And we're going to just do a curly Q here. And don't be afraid of size. Go ahead and fill that right up. Fill that clam up. Now, I'm going to travel back as opposed to echoing back. Traveling is a really good skill to develop with both ruler work and free motion. I find what's easiest is if I don't stop every stitch. I see a lot of beginners wanting to take a stitch and stop, readjust, take a stitch and stop. You know, basically it's just a matter of practice. And I do find it much easier just to keep moving. Your first ones won't look so pretty, but that's okay. That's how we learn. Okay, so I'm going to move over again. And this time I am lined up very well with my valley right here. And let's do what I like to call a martini olive. Okay, it's really not, but it's just kind of a fun thing. It reminds me of an olive. So all I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take one circle and then I'm going to take another circle that is going to be much larger, and it's going to meet up on top. Just like that. And now we're just going to go ahead, finish that clam. And you're going to notice we're going to finish off right where we want to be. Okay, so we've got a couple more we're going to do here. And this one is going to be just a couple more leaves. Okay, we're going to just do a different type of leaf this time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a more rounded leaf. There we go. A little bit of center in there, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to basically do the same thing. Might be a little bigger, might be a little smaller, it's okay. It doesn't matter. And again, just a little center vein in there. And off we go. And remember, if you do need to adjust your clam, you do it at the highest point. So we've got about 1.5 left to do here. So let's do some echoing. I'm going to readjust myself a little bit here. I think I've got a few things kind of in my way, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a teardrop shape. And then I'm going to echo that teardrop shape. And then I'm going to echo it again. There we go. And now we've just made a cute little teardrop echo. All right, so 1/2 of a clam, and we have this row finished. And we can come here and just come out into the seam allowance, and there we go. So there are some ideas here. I'm going to turn these around so you can see them. I'll go ahead and take this off, and I will get my needle up and my foot up and cut my threads here. Remember, this is a practice piece, and this is what we've got. We've just got a nice little variety of different embellishments in our clamshells. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set up for the second part of this video, which is going to be to do them with the 3-inch clamshell template, and we're going to do them on the outside as opposed to the inside of the clams. So until we meet again, let's quilt.